Alright, sit down and buckle up, you guys, because we're running through a quick summary of the Radium Girls. I do have 4 episodes under this playlist talking about it, but I get that not everybody wants to sit through 15 minutes of me explaining, so here we go. The Radium Girls are a group of mostly immigrant teenage children who were employed in various watchmaking factories across Illinois and New Jersey to paint the luminous dials of the watches and clocks, etc., using radium paint. These women were chosen because their smaller hands could better paint the intricate details on the clock faces, but also this was during a time where many women especially did not have very many employment options, and these watchmaking factories actually paid quite well for their time. Now, although these days we recognize that radium is an incredibly radioactive substance, in those days they didn't really know nearly as much about it. So the women were told it was completely harmless to work with, that they could paint their skin, their teeth, whatever, and it would be completely safe. But as we know, that was not the case. And around 1917, some of the women began to fall ill. Now, for 2 years, as more and more of these dial painters began to fall sick, the United States Radium Corporation, who was employing these women, denied any correlation whatsoever between the radium paint that they were working with and the illnesses that they were experiencing, which started with teeth falling out, and then later moved on to issues with their jaw. Now, as more and more of these women began to fall ill, these clock companies were experiencing downturns in sales. People were very skeptical about the claims that radium was supposedly harmless. So the United States Radium Corporation does some independent studies to figure out if radium is actually harmful or not. And the results of the studies do say that radium is harmful. But the United States Radium Corporation was not satisfied with these results, and so they basically contracted independent study after independent study until one finally said radium is harmless, which was not true. So the public and many of the women who were still employed in these factories continued to believe that their illnesses were not related to radium paint and that what they were doing was completely safe. It wasn't until 1925, which was 8 years after the first radium girl got sick, that a pathologist was able to conclusively prove that radium was what was causing the illnesses in these workers. It was around this time that the Radium Girls began to fight back against the United States Radium Corporation, and 2 years later, an attorney named Raymond Berry agreed to take their case. But here's the thing. United States Radium Corporation knew full well that these girls were sick and dying and had months to years, if that, left to live. And they tried to use that to their advantage. Time and time again, they postponed the court case, trying to find any reason they could to delay, basically trying to wait out the Radium Girls, because they knew if they all had died, they would basically have no case. The United States Radium Corporation ended up offering the Radium Girls a settlement of $10,000 up front plus $600 for every year that they lived following the court case. To put that in perspective, $10,000 in 1928 is $177,000 today. Plus it would be an additional $10,000 per year in today's money. So that is a lot of money. And although the women weren't forced to take the settlement, many felt like they had no choice because they were dying, they were being offered a ton of money, a sum that would basically ensure that their families would be taken care of. So most of the women did accept the settlement. It wasn't until 1938 that a radium girl named Catherine Wolfe Donahue successfully sued the United States Radium Corporation. And turns out the entire time, the judge who was presiding over the Radium Girls case had stock in, guess what company? You guessed it, the United States Radium Corporation. So the next time somebody tells you your government wouldn't do that, Oh, yes, they would.